I'm not saying he wasn't irrelevant. Those of us who experienced the time. I mean, like, he was...
Sitting here watching the Manatee compilations on the Best of DP channel. I don't know why, but those are very good comfort watching for me. Yeah, very good comfort watching. Anyway, hey there, Mr. Jumbo, out there in the African sun. Do you ever get tired? Hey there, Mr. Jumbo, will you share with me the jambalaya living in your soul? Hi, everybody. Hi, Margot. Margot Go Gadget Estradio. That's who we got in the chat tonight. Margot Go Gadget Estradio. I like that. Yeah, I can sing everything in the chat tonight. I could do that as a thing.
I could do that.
You know, I'm thinking, you know, why are up? Oh, because I'm a night owl. I usually stay up pretty late. This is just normal for me. This is how my life works. I stay up late by, like, I just always do it. Okay? I always be staying up late. Don't worry about it. Greetings, infidels. Hi, wardens. I'm thinking I want to do an end of the month dono goal. Thank you, King Bugs. Let's go with the $20. Hell yeah, I appreciate that a ton. Yeah, so, I need to do the math on this real quick. Okay, so I know what the goal is going to be. I have an idea for a video essay that would be incredibly easy for me to put together. Like, very, very easy for me to assemble. All I would have to do is go through some old content that's available on Drunken Peasants and a number of other archival channels and stuff like that, and I could put together a Brett Keane mini doc. I'm thinking 2 hours maybe, that is basically the video you might show somebody if you wanted to show them who Brett Keane is, catch up on the lore, right? And I could also cut up a couple of shorts, you know, like a 2-part, 2.5 minute long short or whatever, 2-minute long short, that basically covers the big keystone moments and condenses the larger video into a shorter one. But I don't know if I'm willing to do that on my own for no guaranteed reward, you know? Plus, we're getting close to the end of the month, and we are very close to clearing $2,000 this month. So what I'm thinking is, if we get to 100 more members and $200 more in super chats by the end of this month, which would give you like 4 or 5 more days, then I will put out this Brett Keane video at some point in August. I wonder if I have a way to set up a banner on here. I don't think I do. Not on Prism anyway. I don't think I do. Let me see here. Do I have a way to do that? No. IDK who that is? Well, lots of people aren't ever going to need to know, but there are people who get into the Drunken Peasants or who hear me reference Brett Keane and are interested in knowing who it is. I've heard people say, I don't know who the fuck this is, but I really want to know more about them because it sounds like they've had a fascinating set of interactions with people on YouTube. So I think it is something for which there would be a lot of interest. But it would also involve, you know, swimming through the muck pond that is Brett Keane's life. So I'm not going to do it for no monetary reward. So, $200 in super chats by the end of the month and 100 more members by the end of the month. Both of those things combined and you guys will earn yourselves 2 hours worth of Brett Keane content. And it'll probably be more than that, because a lot of this content I will probably record live for my members and then cut it down, like the big relevant sections down, into a 2-hour video that I'll release for everybody. So yeah. Oh, well, okay. Well, King Bugs just covered you guys on the monetary portion. So now all you guys have to do is sign up for the membership or gift those memberships out. That's literally halfway to the goal. Thank you, King Bugs. Everybody give a fucking massive round of applause to the motherfucking GOAT. Bah! King Bugs. King Bugs in the chat tonight. Support from Israel means nothing if you don't super chat me. Your support from Israel might as well just be an internet troll like everything else everybody says in here. Although I don't really care if I get supported by Israel. Frankly, I feel like I support them enough with my tax dollars. Bro does not pay taxes. I probably pay more taxes than you do. Self-employed people tend to pay more taxes than regular employed people. Let me see here. Let me turn it on to subs only mode so that the chat's a little bit more comprehensible. Right now it's moving too fast for me to even see what's really going on. So let's just see here. Let's go through and see what we got. Let's see what we got here. Seek God, hell awaits. Hell isn't real. You have been deluded into believing a set of Bronze Age mythologies that don't reflect anything scientifically accurate or morally righteous. You follow a depraved set of unethical beliefs that do not teach people anything meaningful about life in the modern day. Pangloss, with the $5, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Also, what's up, Ozzy Wee Wee? Thank you for being a member. Idea for a movie: Monster in the Woods, i.e. the lake, versus Psycho Hunter, who ain't scared of it. I feel like this is kind of like a trope that describes a lot of different things, though, isn't it? Like, this is basically the trope that describes Predator versus Alien, right? I like the idea, I kind of do, but I also feel like it might already have been done. Maybe it just hasn't been done well enough, though. Holy queer? Yes, I am indeed a queer woman. That is true. Hi, Taylor! You weren't in my stream at all yesterday, and then when I came over to Ignar's stream, and I saw you were in there, I was like, dang. No, I'm kidding. You can hang out where you want to hang out. No, I was. We talked about North Korea. Oh yeah, we did, didn't we? I guess I'm just a dumbass. Wasn't that yesterday? The days blend. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. You are in good spirits today, Phoebe. I'm glad. Yeah, I mean, I'm not in bad spirits. I am, like, incredibly hot. Like, it is ridiculously hot today. But nothing yet has pissed me off too bad. So, yeah, for now, I'm pretty good spirits. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. It really does help. What's up? You seem really cool. What are your pronouns? She, her, hers. Thank you for asking. What do we want to talk about? Anything on particular on anybody's mind? Remember, if you want to make sure your comment or question gets read or answered, consider sending a super chat. That is the best way to do it. I believe you can also put in a message whenever you sign up for a membership. You may be able to. I'm certainly more likely to see your message if you sign up for a membership. Can I give you plane ticket to Saudi Arabia? I don't want to go to fucking Saudi Arabia, especially not with the Iran war going on. You kidding me? Even if it wasn't going on, my transgender ass is going anywhere near Saudi Arabia. But even like then, I feel like even if Saudi Arabia was friendly to trans people and the war wasn't going on, I probably still wouldn't go over there because Saudi Arabia's economy is like predicated on a predatory relationship with the rest of the world when it comes to oil, and predatory relationship with many of their neighbors and countries that are not even that close to them when it comes to getting slave labor to run their economies. So it's like, nah, dude. I support enough unethical capitalism living here in the United States. I don't feel the need to spread my, like, giant carbon footprint all over this planet. King Bugs with another $20, keeping the trip train alive. Keeping the tip train alive. Yeah, keep that tip train going, y'all. Thank you. I don't feel like going to the Middle East again. Place sucks. Yeah, Joey knows. Joey was actually in the military. He's been to the Middle East. He knows that shit sucks. And that's the thing. Can I just be real? I feel like even if the Middle East was cool and friendly and people were chill out there, shit would still suck. It's a desert. It's a fucking desert. And I mean, it's pretty in a way. You know, it's beautiful in its own way. I wouldn't denigrate it for the people that live there. But dude, I gotta be real with you. If I want to see beautiful deserts, I got a lot more of that shit here in America than you're gonna find in the fucking Middle East, in my opinion. I just think the deserts of America are prettier. But that's probably because I'm from America, okay? Maybe that's just a colonialist thing to say, or imperialist, or whatever the fuck. Maybe that's wrong, okay, but I'm just gonna say it. The American Southwest is, in my opinion, a lot prettier than most of the deserts of the Middle East. I don't even know why Israel is so attached to that land base. That's why I say we ought to just clear out Wyoming and give it to them. Be like, hey, fuck this Middle East shit. Why the fuck you want to live over there anyway? Wyoming is now the new Holy Land, okay? Totally fine to say USA is best in the world. I will tell you, Joey, I don't think that USA is the best in the world when it comes to how we do a lot of stuff. Like, I think our government's utterly full of corruption, but I do think that there are some fundamental things about this country that make it pretty cool, no matter who's in office and what's going on politically. Number one is the fact that we have codified into our Constitution a separation of church and state, a guaranteed freedom of expression. Now, these things haven't always been lived up to by our country. It's one of the criticisms, but it is something we are getting better at living up to every decade. And not only that, but the natural beauty that is represented by the borders of what we call America is some of the most captivating natural beauty you can find anywhere on the planet. I think the only country that can compete with us realistically on that, the only single country that can compete with us on that would be maybe India or China, just in terms of like pure natural beauty that can be observed. And honestly, not even India. India's got some really beautiful places in it, but India's also struggling with overpopulation in a lot of places that are making some of the places that would be a lot more beautiful a little less beautiful, not by virtue of the people, but by virtue of the type of poverty that the way their country has developed over the last 200 years with a lot of influence from Western powers has gone. But China still has a lot of natural, easily observable, clear natural beauty all over it. And America, I think, kind of takes the cake. I think we've got a few close competitors, but as far as just like the amount of stuff that you can see and the amount of natural beauty you can take in this country without leaving its borders is immense and staggering and just incredible. Let's keep this chip train going. Here in about like 5 minutes, King Bug's $20 donation is going to fall off, and then it'll be left to the $50 donation to keep the fucking tip train going. Look, there's one. There's one. Keep it going. He is big. Who is big? Surely you're not talking about me, because my pronouns are she, her, hers. And if I offered you anything, what would you want? 100 gifted memberships so that we get to this Brett Keane goal. What's up, Panzer Meow? I love you, King Bugs. You know I do. Somebody sent me something on Discord, it looked like. Let me see, what was that? Was that something that I needed to actually look at? Or was it just a meme? Oh, okay. I was getting responded to in a Discord, but it was completely unrelated. Okay, anyway, sorry about that. Instead of buying bot viewers, you should buy toothpaste and a toothbrush, amen. You really think I can afford to buy bot viewers? Motherfucker, I don't need to buy bot viewers. Give you my numbers real quick. So this is the last 28 days. Views, 374,000. Watch time, 3.8 thousand. Subscribers, plus 700. Estimated revenue, 1.9 thousand. The numbers speak for themselves. Yeah, King Bugs is not a bot. The millions of people over the course of the last year who have watched this channel are not bots. They're people who have been captivated by the content and who have come back time and time again. Yeah, if she paid for bot viewers, I wouldn't be here. Yeah, like, I literally have no idea how someone would even go about paying for bot viewers, but it also is not like a good recipe for long-term success on a channel, nor could I have afforded to do that at any point besides like maybe in the last 2 or 3 months. But honestly, like, my views have kind of plateaued. My views were up to like 750K a month, like at the beginning of this year, and they plateaued to around 300,000, 400,000 a month for the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 months. Separation of church and state is a metaphor and belief held, originated in Jefferson letter but never codified, just can't have a favored denomination. I would argue that it is codified. I would argue that it is codified, not just in the First Amendment, but also in the Treaty of Tripoli. Treaty of Tripoli. Yeah. So yeah, Article 11 of the 1796 Treaty of Tripoli explicitly states that the government of the United States is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion. It was drafted to reassure Muslim leaders that differences in religion would not cause conflict or harm trade. The Senate unanimously ratified the treaty in 1797. So there's the Article 11 of the Treaty of Tripoli. There's also the First Amendment of the Constitution. Let me see here. Let's go here. It's gonna take so long because they have to verify that I'm human. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So it's not like the Constitution, nor did I think, like, I don't think anybody, when they say that separation of church and state is more or less codified in the Constitution, codified in the founding documents of this country, I don't think anybody is literally saying that those exact words appear verbatim in the documents. The idea is that these that it is a natural it's a natural takeaway from reading the documents as they were written and as they were negotiated. Like, if they didn't mean for church and state to be separated, then why did they make it so clear in the First Amendment that Congress was to make no law respecting any establishment of religion or prohibiting any exercise thereof? That sounds to me like it is saying the state isn't going to have shit to do with the exercise of religion. and it also covers a few of the other adjacent freedoms that, like, also helped to protect religious assemblies and things like that, and religious assemblages. Wait, you wearing a wig? I'm not. What kind of wig has a very obvious skin tone colored part? Didn't Pride Parade say we're coming for our kids? I don't know, but I do remember a lot of signs at January 6th advocating for the killing of, like, sitting, members of shit like, do I really need to complete the sentence? I think you get the idea. I do remember a lot of really violent and oppressive signs at January 6th. A lot of white nationalist themed signs. A lot of Christian nationalist themed signs. Want to talk about that? You got really pretty eyes, not to sound like a weirdo. Not gonna lie, it still sounds like a weirdo, but you know what? I'll take it. It's fine. Keep in mind, I prefer separation, but the language doesn't split them. It's long-term tradition nowadays that I personally like. Okay, so Joey, if the First Amendment did establish separation of church and state, what would it look like to you? Or, like, if there was an amendment separating the two? Because in my mind, the First Amendment makes it pretty clear that the government is not to favor any establishment of religion through its legislation, nor is it to prohibit any free exercise thereof. Also, there are explicit protections for freedom of expression and speech. So it just seems to me like that is a pretty clear, like, in the text example of how the founding fathers and the very founding documents of the country wanted to make sure that the church couldn't influence the government and that the government couldn't influence the church. What are you drinking, Phoebe? King Bugs with the $5. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. This is Jack Daniel's Down Home Punch. That's what I'm drinking on right now. I've also got a Seagram's Escape Strawberry Daiquiri sitting right next to it that I'll be popping after I get done with that one. I'm starting to believe less and less in my religion. TBH, I've been having doubts, but I'm still scared of not going to heaven. It's hard. Yeah, I get what you mean. For me, the fear of going to hell was way, way, way worse than the fear of not going to heaven. I could cope with the idea of not going to heaven. I could cope with the idea of dying someday. After all, like, when I was a kid, I had absolutely no fear of death. And I didn't understand people who did, especially after I started deconstructing my faith, which I did when I was pretty young compared to a lot of people. I was like, oh my God, I just die? Oh, thank goodness. Oh, because that's not going to come around for another 80 years, you know? So for me, the hard thing was never the idea of not going to heaven. The hard thing that I had to get over and start deconstructing, that made me start deconstructing my faith, was the idea of going to hell. Because that kept me up nights. Good drink choice for a liberal. I didn't know your kind drank Jack. Well, it's a cheerleader beer. It's not exactly true Jack. It's, But I'm not a liberal. I'm a leftist. And most of us do probably have more culturally in common with, like, your average everyday MAGA conservative than either of us do with, like, the hipster, Starbucks liberal trope that a lot of people think of when they think of people left of center. Charlie Kirk. Alright, it's been too long since I played the Charlie Kirk song. Everybody's talking about him in chat. Apparently it's been too long since I played the song. So we're going to go ahead and play the Ballad of Charlie Kirk. Well, the people of the USA were all up in a roar. So Charlie Kirk, the demagogue, signed up to be Trump's whore and though Israel had bombed so many dead, he decided to defend them and he lost his head. Charlie Kirk, he got shot in public. Charlie Kirk, spreader of bigot lies. Charlie Kirk, he lost his life for reasons probably connected to the Epstein files. Now when the news had spread around that Charlie Kirk got shot, Erica signed up to be the next maker of brain rot. But when a guy named Drewski did a funny little skit, the entirety of MAGA threw an awful fit. Charlie Kirk, he lost his life so bloody. Charlie Kirk, preaching awful hate. Charlie Kirk probably didn't earn it, but that's why we all call it the Epstein fate. Well, that's the tale of Charlie Kirk and his very bloody fall. But that's not the whole story, I couldn't tell it all. Look into what he said about black pilots and more, and let's all see what Erica has in store. Charlie Kirk did not die a martyr. Charlie Kirk died up there in vain. Charlie Kirk, the shooter claims he shot him for reasons that the FBI can't explain. Oh shit, I forgot. Gotta do that to keep it sitting right. Yeah. Thank you, thank you. Thank you all. 5 gifted memberships from King Bugs. You know what that means. We are 5 gifted memberships closer to the Brett Keane goal. You guys have till the rest of that month, or the rest of this month, to get to that, by the way. One more time for the people in the back. No, I don't think I could do it one more time. I'm really hot tonight because it is like 83 degrees here still and like 93% humidity, even though it's like 2 in the morning. And so I don't think I can do a lot of music tonight. I'm just gonna fucking burn up. And I literally took a shower like 2 hours ago, but I already feel so sweaty and clammy and gross. Ugh. I hate the weather here. I got gifted a membership thanks to whoever donated. That'd be King Bugs. What are you going to do when the rapture comes? The rapture's not coming, friend. You and every other Christian has been saying the rapture's just around the corner for the last 2,000 years. You realize that? For the last 2,000 years, the rapture's been right around the corner. Okay, so Sage Coffee Bean says, I have a question. I don't have anyone to ask this and I'm broke, but how do I cope with being hypersexual? It's fine if you don't want to talk about that. No, we can talk about it. We can talk about everything here. That's one of the things I pride about myself is the fact that as long as YouTube's terms of service will let me talk about it, I'll talk about anything here, more or less. Yeah, so we can talk about that. In my opinion, hypersexuality is not necessarily a problem unless it's making you do things that you shouldn't do. But a lot of times it does that when someone tries to suppress it. So the biggest piece of advice I would have for somebody that is hypersexual is, number one, try and find yourself a partner or partners. Because, you know, there are some people that are that way that find it useful to be in a kind of polygamist sort of relationship where they've got, or polyamory, where they've got multiple partners that they can be intimate with. I would recommend finding finding a partner or partners that has a sex drive at least somewhat commensurate with your own. And if you have trouble finding partners that can do that, or, a partner that can do that, then, it might be helpful to just, like, stay single for a while and experiment with it. But the thing that I feel like is most important to stress, because, there's been times in my life where I don't know if I would have been considered, like, hypersexual, but where I've definitely had a higher sex drive and was, messing around with lots of different people. And the best advice that I could give you based on my own time with that is something that I did that protected me pretty well, which is, unless it's somebody that you really know or that you plan to be with a lot, that you are certain of the cleanliness status of, always use protection, There's nothing wrong with having sex, even if you're not married. There's no good moral reason why that should be considered wrong intrinsically. But you do want to be responsible, right? Just like if you were going to drink, you would be better off taking public transit there or getting a ride there and getting a ride back rather than driving yourself to the bar and trying to convince yourself not to drive back or something like that. If you are going to have a little hoe phase, or if you're going to be sleeping with multiple people, the most important thing to remember is legit just, make sure you keep protection on you. Make sure you've got condoms on you and shit. Hello. How old are you, Phoebe? I never ask. I will be 28 next month, if you can believe it. I'm a part of no political group. Politics is killing the world. It's what's keeping everyone at war with each other. It's not politics that's doing that. It's malicious people who use politics as one of their many tools of oppression. But politics is literally just the practice of establishing policy by which your country or community will be operated. That's all politics is. It can be a tool of good, it can be a tool of innocuous status quo maintenance, and it can be a tool for evil. It's like a gun, you know? A 308 can be used just as easily for killing deer as it can be for killing men. You know, an AR-15 may be best suited to varmint killing out on the ranch, but you certainly can turn it on a crowd at a supermarket and have some real tragedy unfold because of that. That's not to say I believe in type restrictions or mag restrictions or anything like that. I'm not making any gun control arguments. I'm just pointing out how tools have different uses according to how the user wants to use them. And a lot of how you mitigate the bad aspects of that is just like protecting those tools from being used by bad people. Making your political systems strong and resilient to the influence of fascists. Or in the gun example, making sure your guns are stored in a safe that only you and someone with guns in that safe, like only the people who have guns in that safe have fucking access to that safe, right? That by itself, if that was like a universally understood cultural standard, would massively reduce gun deaths in America. Massively reduce the theft of guns in America. Phoebe is my favorite gun tuber. I don't think I am a gun tuber. I don't do anything gun related on my channel except talk about it sometimes, I guess. I'm not terrified of guns, and I actually find them kind of interesting. And I also, being a farm girl who was raised in the country and has hunted for her own meat, I see the real utility of a gun as a tool. I know for a fact how a shotgun can be used to take down a squirrel or a goose and or a duck, and I know firsthand how a rifle can be used to take down a deer. I guess it's a lot easier for me to see things from a different perspective than a lot of people on the left might when it comes to guns, just because of the way I grew up. I don't have my wallet on me, but if you're thinking I'm lying about that, I literally have somewhere in my wallet my original firearm certification for when I worked at the Missouri prison system. And I've shown it on stream before. So. Do you identify as a trans woman or just a woman to the public? I would love to eventually get to a point where like people are cool enough with trans people that I don't feel like I need to identify as a trans woman, but I feel like there is like utility to me identifying as a trans woman specifically. The greatest of which, in my opinion, is just visibility for other trans people. So yeah, like, you know, if somebody asks me, are you a woman? I'll be like, yes. I am a trans woman, yes. I don't think there's any problem with that. In fact, I think it does a lot towards normalizing the idea that trans people are out and about in society and that we're normal people just like you. What's your problem against Christianity? It's a backwards, bigoted set of beliefs that is very often appropriated by some of the worst and simultaneously most powerful people on the planet as an excuse for which bombs can be dropped, for which militaries can be readied and deployed against other countries, etc. Because it's often used as an excuse or a justification for policies of bigotry and systemic discrimination here at home and in other countries where strict doctrinal and fundamentalist versions of Christianity have a strong hold. For example, many countries in Africa that have been colonized heavily by Christian powers have gone from being places where sexuality was relatively fluid and what pretty well understood by locals to be a complex thing. Africa has went from a place where homosexuality was almost never criminalized, very rarely, to a place where homosexuality is often punished by death. And this is specifically because of the influence of Christian powers and the missionaries that they always bring with them, and that they continue to send to those countries after they pull out. I think there are individual Christians who are fine. I think there are forms of Christianity that are not so harmful. Just like I think there are forms of Islam that are not so harmful. But the fundamental of it is a harmful idea. The idea that you should predicate your life on the basis of faith-based assumptions is, in my mind, intrinsically wrong, pragmatically and morally. If you believe things for which there is no evidence, which is what faith is, then that justifies anything. That is a quote from Richard Dawkins, who is now a crazy transphobe and is going insane just like Jordan Peterson, but for a long time was actually a really well-informed biologist and an expert in his field, and was one of the most potent raisers against the fundamentalist, evangelical movement, I guess you'd call it, that was emerging in the early 2000s, that had been kind of fighting its way further into government since the 80s. Yeah. I miss the days when Richard Dawkins was mostly just a cool scientist that spoke out against religious indoctrination. Now he goes around calling himself a cultural Christian. Why do LGBT put pride in churches? We don't. Some churches just choose to adopt pride-based imagery or choose to engage in some pride stuff during Pride Month because they want to be more inclusive. It's not like queer people went into those churches and held a gun to those people's head and were like, "You're gonna do queer stuff in here, bro!" That's not how it happened. That shift from Dawkins was so disappointing. I know, Habeas J. It really was the most disappointing single shift in a, like, I guess you could call it like a thought leader in the last 20 years. Even with Jordan Peterson, because basically his shift is what made him famous, right? So nobody, very few people had like a super positive opinion on Peterson. Very few had a negative opinion on him either. But it's not like him. With him, it's kind of a fall once you realize it's a fall. But with Dawkins, he became famous on his ability to rapidly and soundly dismantle the talking points of backwards religious people. That was what fueled his rise to prominence. And then when he shifted and started calling himself like, "Oh, don't talk about this, it's a rough thing to talk about," they were like, "You're wrong on this, Richard. This is not, you're not reflective. Your opinion is not reflective of a scientific truth in this regard, Richard. You are misinforming the public if you go out there with this stance." This is what multiple of his peers have said about his shift to the right. Teeth so yellow. Says the person with a K as their profile picture. You probably don't have a tooth in your head that you graduated high school with. At least I'm sitting here with my real face. Yeah. And my perfect skin. You would suck a dick to be me for a minute. You'd lick a ball sack to get on my channel. I just came out as a trans woman. Are there any tips or heads up that you would advise me and my wife on? Try things on before you buy them. It sounds trite, but try things on before you buy them, okay? Because it will take you a while to really understand what sizes to get that will match your figure. And like a lot of us, it is not uncommon for us to start caring about our bodies a lot more after we transition. If that is true for you as well, you might find that your figure changes a little bit as you transition. If that's the case, you'll definitely want to continue that. Even today, like I've been out as trans for 6 years. I was on hormone therapy at one time, and then I couldn't be on it, and I'm hoping to get back on it later this year. But the point is, throughout that process, my sizes have changed a little bit as I've lost weight and stuff. But I continue to always try something on before I bring it home, because you don't want to get home and then find out, oh shit, this doesn't fit. Then you got to go all the way back out to the store and then return it and then get something new, and then, it's just a whole mess. So that'd be one of the biggest things that I could say. Another thing is, if you are living in an area where a visibly out trans woman might possibly be in some kind of danger from harassment or something, don't be afraid to sign yourself up for some kind of personal defense class that can teach you how to use pepper spray and how to do a few basic things to get out of trouble if you have to. Honestly, it's not as big a risk and as big a danger as it used to be out as trans in America. And I feel like I'm proof of that. I'm a trans woman who lives in the deep south in Mississippi, and I haven't had anyone be like physically violent towards me. There's been people who've said a few hateful things or whatever, but usually it's not even like someone that's standing around. It's like somebody will yell something in passing from a car or something, maybe. But it can be something you might want to look into if you do feel like you're in some sort of danger of that type in your area. I'm back. My phone died. Okay, so Taylor, we've got a recently cracked egg. We've got somebody who just came out as a trans woman asking for advice, and I know you're a cis woman, but I just want to ask you, because I know you're smart and shit. I said make sure you try things on because it'll take you a while to get used to your size. Um, um, Sorry, I was just reading a text. Anyway, I was basically saying, try things on at the store before you bring them home, because it's going to take you a while to familiarize yourself with your size, and even then, you might lose weight or your figure might change after you get on HRT, so it might be something you continue to have to do just to be sure. And I was saying they might want to invest in like a personal security class, something that can teach them how to use pepper spray and how to like get themselves out of trouble if somebody should try and do something physical or anything. But I'm trying to think of other things that would be like useful information to know. And I'm thinking you might have heard something being discussed at some point in here, or on a forum somewhere that maybe you can add to the conversation. I'm not trans, but I would say know your rights, know the laws of everywhere you travel to. Yes, that's a big one. Thank you so much for bringing that up. That's super important to know now. So yeah, if you're going to be traveling to a different state, kind of look into it, especially now, dude. If you're going to go into another state, make sure that like if they've got bathroom laws and you can't avoid going to that state, make sure that you go to places where you can use the right bathroom, or um, plan your adventure around alternative solutions, or avoid that state, because it's a real fucking problem. It's becoming like a really, kind of insane how much of a problem it's becoming. I will say this much: if you're going to be traveling at any point, one thing you can do, it does cost money, but one thing you can do, if you want a guaranteed single person bathroom and, a shower and stuff, if you're on a long road trip or something, Love's will let you buy a shower for $13 or $17, something like that. It's under $20, and you can use it, I think, for up to an hour. Um, they would really rather you not, but you can use it for like up to 30 minutes or an hour. It's got a completely outfitted bathroom in there and a shower and everything. And if you happen to be on a long road trip and it's worth it, then that can be something that you do to get some rest and relaxation and use the bathroom in complete privacy. But obviously, you're not going to be able to do that every time. So in cases like that, I would always recommend like planning travel around interstates and stuff, where you can, whenever you get off to go get gas, there will always be like 2 or 3 different gas stations, and one of them will usually be a like a much older non-franchised gas station, or maybe the gas they sell is franchised but the store itself isn't. And a lot of times those places will have single person bathrooms, so even if there are is like a bathroom bill or whatever, you are safe to go in the bathroom that corresponds with your sex at birth without getting assaulted or something. Not that that's like the biggest problem. Like, assaults in bathrooms are pretty rare, but it is more common. Like, it's more likely to happen to a trans person, especially a trans woman, in 2026 than it is to happen to anybody else. So it's just something to kind of like keep in mind. We live in California. Okay, that's awesome. Yes, good. That is really good. Most people were chill with me. Me and my wife were surprised that our neighbors were not rude first time I was out as a woman. Yeah, I mean, like, you would be honestly so shocked how many people are cool with it, especially given how much it seems to be an issue for people online, and given how much people argue about it and stuff and seem to be mad about us. Like, you'd be shocked. Most people are more or less cool with trans people. Yeah, California is awesome. You are really lucky living in California as a trans person. That is so fucking good. That is awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. That is going to make your life immensely easier. I don't, because literally, I hate to say it, life as a trans woman down here in the South is becoming increasingly more dangerous and isolating over time. I think that's eventually going to turn around. Like, I think eventually it'll be a lot safer for us to be, but, you know, right now, not exactly. Yeah, share your location with 2 trusted people, so when you go out with your wife, if something were to happen, both of you, one of you have a dead phone that can see your last location. Yeah, that's not a bad idea if you have to go somewhere where you're not exactly like sure if you'll be safe. I know, right? I think I'm making things hard on me, not the people around. No, yeah, for sure. I mean, and you might not even be making things hard on you, really. I will say, life as a trans person gets easier the longer you go about it. Life in general gets easier the longer you do it. Excuse me. I'm a femboy and in Florida. I'm still scared to be myself. Yeah, no, I don't blame you, because like Florida is one of those weird places where it seems like there's certain pockets of Florida that are cool, but most of Florida is like super conservative and shit. So I would not want to be. I feel like, and Florida too. I don't know if it's the weather or if it's like a certain thing about Floridians. Maybe it's something in the water. I don't fucking know. But there's a reason for the Florida man meme. people are just fucking crazy down there. Not universally, but I feel like the quotient of crazy people is a lot higher in Florida than it is in any other state in the union. Never assume safety. Probably a good point, honestly. That goes for everyone, really. Yeah, no, for sure. You should always, you should always be cognizant of your surroundings. You know, man, I said that like fucking Brett Keane. You should always be cognizant of your surroundings. No, but seriously. Yeah, yeah, exactly. What Roman said, for sure. What's up, Riley? I agree and disagree with the bathroom ban. Well, maybe you can elaborate your position a little more clearly than that, because that's a little vague. A little vague. Like, normally when you agree and disagree with something, it's because you agree with specific aspects and disagree with other aspects. So, I think MAGA should be banned from bathrooms because they obviously don't care about women or children's safety and value pedophilia. I mean, it's not an unreasonable stance more and more as time goes on. I don't think that that's personally how things should go down, but, you know, I can't blame you for thinking that might be the solution. I'm glad there aren't many trolls. Do you think trolls help your channel more in general or they hurt the channel? Help, for sure. They help. They're not the most reliable fans, which is why the stream for the last, you know, I would say 20 minutes has gone from, you know, like 200 people hanging out to between 30 and 40 people hanging out, sometimes dropping a little bit lower. But that number has, like, gone steadily up every month since I started streaming. At first, I was lucky if I had 2 or 3 people hanging out, you know, the first couple weeks. And then, you know, the more I streamed, the more people I got. And at this point, you know, a lot of times we'll average 50 concurrents throughout a whole stream. Sometimes it's a little lower, like today. Other times it's way higher. There have been times when we've held 200, 300 people for 2 or 3 hours. So... And I pretty much treated the trolls the same way the whole time throughout that. You know, I pretty much, like, let people say what they say, more or less, unless it is, like, an egregious violation of YouTube's TOS, like they're spamming or they're, you know, saying like Nazi shebang no matter what. But the strategy has so far paid off. The engagement helps for sure. Yeah, exactly. Troll dollars spend just as green as any other dollars do. Troll views count just as much as any other view does. They add to the watch hours. Every minute they sit in here trolling me is another minute they add to my watch timer. The amount of people watching me. And that is one of the metrics that YouTube actually does care about. YouTube cares less about how much time, or I'm sorry, YouTube cares less about how many people are watching your shit and more about how long people are watching it and how many people are watching it for long periods of time. And two, the fact that the trolls come in here and watch for a while encourages people who might want to watch in good faith to be more likely to participate with the channel, to help it out, to support it, etc. Because they see, oh shit, this channel's popping off. Maybe she knows what she's talking about. What were the earliest streams like? A lot of it was honestly just me doing stuff around the farm. Like me bringing the audience along while I, you know, fed and watered the animals or did some shit on the property or something. They were pretty fun streams. There was a mass shooting in Seattle today at a food festival. That's awful. That's awful. That's like the third or fourth mass violence event like this month, isn't it? Been a lot of that shit lately. I really enjoyed your old streams. Aw, I hope you still enjoy these ones. I don't know, when I get things looking a little better around the property, I do want to start doing more streams like that again. Damn it, I wish my nose would quit itching. Getting tired, about to catch some Z's, everybody, but I'm glad I discovered your channel and you chat wonderful people. We'll be back for sure. Take care. Yeah, you too. Yeah, with that, I'm going to make it members only mode. If you want to continue participating in chat, make sure you sign up for a membership or have a gifted one or a mod. Just another day in the USA. That's how it is. That's how it works. I'm currently putting my chickens to bed. What animals do you have? I don't want to talk too much about it, but we got a few goats, just a few pigs, quite a few chickens, and a cow. Stalin would call my family kulaks. I've also got a kitty. She's over there in the chair. My nose be itching and my knees be bitching. Yeah, no, I don't blame you. Me too. Hey, do you have a community Discord? If not, have you considered making one? I do have a community Discord. Although two of the mods in there do like to troll people quite a bit, so you kind of like have to get used to that, you know? Like, you have to like realize and not respond, or respond with equal trolling back. But yeah, it exists. It's out there. I guess I could go ahead and link to it. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Sorry, what's going on? What's happening? What's the haps on the craps in this situation, individual? Celebrate me, send Phoebe money. I got engaged today. That's true. Everybody clap for Taylor. That's awesome. Do 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 do. Cheers, Taylor. I'm looking at you. You know who you are. Look into my eyes. I see you. You remember when I used to do that shit or shit like that to Colin, Taylor? Yeah, but he's soft. True. I would genuinely freak him out sometimes. Of course, there were times when it wasn't just absurdist. There were times when I would, like, have some information that I'd been sitting on, like a fucking, like some chicken with a foul egg or something, for 2 weeks. And I just, like, used it like a razor, you know? Oh, God, I was awful at times, I like to think I've grown. Now I only do that kind of thing for the entertainment of my audience. Like I said, soft, yes, true. Doesn't it kind of make me a little bit of a shithead, though, that I reveled in that? Were you awful, or did he deserve it? um, I'm gonna reload my pipe. So that's a good question. That is a real good question. Oof. I wonder if I can find that sound effect. Is this it? Alrighty. I found the meme. It can be mean and justified. That's true. And maybe it was in that case. Oh God, it's talking to me. I smoked for the first time the other day, but TBH, I passed out. That's not an uncommon reaction to the first time that someone smokes. If you actually smoke like decent cannabis, it's not uncommon. They call it greening out. So don't even feel bad. It's like a rite of passage for every stoner. You know now that you need less, and that's good. That's really good. We all start out that way, or at least most of us do. And the longer you can stay that way, the better. Like, the longer you can stay to where you can roll up a joint in the morning and smoke like a couple of puffs off of it, and then smoke a couple of puffs, you know, maybe after lunch or something, and then the rest of it when you go to bed, or as you're going to bed or whatever. Like, if you can stay in that mode, like where you're smoking less than half a gram a day, then, like, that's optimal. You really don't want to get to the point where you're having to or wanting to smoke, big copious amounts daily just to keep yourself level. I agree now, like Kermit the Frog. Yeah, it happens. Yeah, good. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. It's to be expected, especially like I said, and for your first few rounds around takes your body a while to get used to some of those effects and to give you other avenues of enjoying them. Sometimes it can be good to catch up on your rest like that, though, you know? You know, the crazy thing to me is that for some people, weed is this more or less fine drug that might make them sleepy or tired. Maybe they green out and don't have as much fun as they wanted to. Or maybe it gets them real good and high and sometimes gets them, a little stoopy or whatever. But then there's a small subset of people for whom cannabis is like a crazy making drug. Like it'll give them a panic attack, or they will work themselves up into a frenzy because they just don't. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's genetic, so I don't exactly know how to talk about it, but there's definitely a tendency in a small subset of people to react negatively to cannabis. What the origins of that reaction are, I'm not exactly sure. It's probably honestly a combination of psychology, genetics, and physiology, and like sociology, like people's ingrained cultural reactions. Probably a combination of all three of those. THC, my enemy. Well, that's you were one of the people I was thinking about. Taylor used to smoke, and I think it didn't used to affect you as badly, right? But then at some point it started to, or you can explain it more. Why don't you explain it, Taylor? So just so I don't get the facts wrong. I fight every day to ground myself in reality. Anything that forces me out of it is not good. So you feel like, for you, like THC induces a reality denying or subverting effect, or like it maybe subverts your ability to deal with reality accurately. Like it disconnects you from a sharp sense of what's real. Depersonalization, derealization I have every day, so I need grounding not to get away. That's fair. That's fair. But that, I feel like you're a good example then of what I'm talking about, because I feel like for me it does provide a grounding effect, and I don't know. I just don't know why it's so different in people. Because you're not the only person I've met that's like that. That has pretty much more or less the same reason, or a very close. Get off my glasses, thing. A very close or adjacent reason for not smoking or consuming edibles or consuming THC at all. And I think it's valid and legitimate. I just think it needs to be studied more so that people can understand it, and so that cannabis advocacy can be like gone about with that understanding in mind. I don't know if I'm making any sense right now. I just feel like how do I put it? In a lot of cases, in an effort to make a better case or a more effective case for cannabis regulation and legalization, people will sometimes go to kind of absurd extremes to make the case, such as suggesting that, oh, cannabis is fine for everybody, you just haven't found the right strain, or that it's like a miracle drug that can heal all kinds of shit or whatever. And I feel like we already know that's not true, and a lot of modern day cannabis advocates that are serious about it have updated their rhetoric to reflect that. But I feel like if we had more study on people who, if we had more study on people who react negatively to cannabis, then it might help to understand more about how to make an effective case and more about how to provide proper medical care to people who do try it and find out that they're part of that group that reacts negatively to it. I think it's mostly triggers. I get triggered into an attack by feeling like something in my mind or body feels different than baseline. That's what makes me dissociate. But yeah, I had a few positive experiences with it. I just kept trying before giving up. Yeah, that's totally valid. And I don't think, anybody should be trying to convince you to try it again. Um, but it is very interesting how it affects people differently. I see videos about it and how some people feel particularly affected by carts. For me, carts are weird because I feel differently affected by carts than I do when I smoke anything else. I wouldn't say it's a worse experience. In some ways, it can be a more potent experience, but I don't know how to put it. I don't think I'm someone who has negative associations with carts, and I don't have negative reactions to it. But I've always preferred flower and maybe a dab here and there because I've always felt, I think, a more thorough high. And for me, I really do appreciate the sensations that I get from cannabis, which range from feeling more creative to, ironically, feeling more grounded sometimes. Um, a lot of times, if I feel particularly brain fogged, um, sometimes I will have to go for most of the day like that, but then eventually I'm able to smoke. And there's something about how THC interacts with my brain that is able to clear that up. And suddenly, priorities become clearer. Things I was supposed to do, I remember. It's not like it's like a magical cure, um, but it I think it helps me organize my thoughts and remain on like a more even keel emotionally. And it also, if I go past that point, can help with creativity, with presentation sometimes. Health is fragile. And that's why I think people that discover that they don't interact well with cannabis shouldn't take it. But I do think that the consumption of cannabis should be normalized for those of us who are benefited from it. And I would consider myself someone who's benefited from it. My breathing's probably a little worse, but that could be abetted by me moving to edibles or something. Whee! It's not even that late tonight, y'all. That's crazy. Of course, it's not that far into the stream either. Only an hour and 25 minutes in. Do you like the gummy versions? The gummy versions of what? I'm not sure what you mean. Talking like gummy edibles? Honestly, at this point, my favorite kind of edible is the one that I don't have to chew. That's another thing I think needs to be normalized is I think it needs to be more commonplace to be able to go into a dispensary and get tablet or capsule form edibles, because they can make those. Like, they exist. That's a thing. They just don't sell them at every dispensary, and there's some states that don't even have them just because it's considered, no, it's just not a thing the consumer would want. I guess because I know they have gummies. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, gummies are fine. I prefer those to, like, chocolates or brownies if I'm going to get a dispensary edible. But, honestly, like, the best way to do homemade edibles is not to make any one specific food item, but rather to make an infused oil of some kind. Coconut oil is one of the ones that's chosen most often, um, because it is a relatively healthy fat, and because it's solid at room temperature. Let's see, there's a bunch of reasons why you'd use coconut oil. It's solid at room temperature. It doesn't carry much of a flavor of its own, and what little flavor it does have kind of counteracts the flavor of the cannabis a little bit. And it's a relatively healthy fat. So that's one. People will also make, and this is called canna butter whenever you do this, by the way. People will make it with not just coconut oil, but actual butter, like regular old butter. And when you have basically, like, gotten as much of the good out, the THC, into a fat, because THC is fat soluble, so it clings to those fat molecules and gets pulled out of there. Once you've done that, then you can use that in other recipes. You just have to be, cognizant of how you're using it and how much it's going to impart. Like, if you're going to use it as the basis of a sauce with a roux, that can be a good usage for it. Like, I used to make, for example, blackened chicken fettuccine alfredo that was psychoactive with our infused coconut oil when I lived up in Massachusetts. Yeah. Fucking chicken alfredo that could get you high. So if you're going to do something like that, or if you're going to warm it up and drizzle it over some bread instead of olive oil or something, but you basically want to make sure that you're not putting it under conditions where it's going to burn, and you want to make sure that you're actually, like, eating the oil that you're putting in there. So you don't want to, like, use it for frying or something, because most of that oil is just going to get wasted. Wow, that's so cool. I know, right? A lot of people find comfort in the ritual as much as the effects. I think that's a lot of what it is for me. I think that's a lot of why I smoke while I stream, is because I will be honest with you, Taylor. Even though it was kind of obnoxious to you at times, I'm pretty sure, and I wouldn't blame you a bit if it was, I had so much fun smoking with the pals in the garage and smoking in the living room with the pals before that. And there was something so cool about that, and so, I don't know, 90s about that. It reminded me of hanging out with my older siblings again or something. I don't even know how to put it. It was just a great time in a lot of ways. It's something I still kind of nostalgize, maybe is the right way to put it. But I feel like I kind of recreate that atmosphere when I do these. And honestly, that atmosphere, I get to experience similar things to it if I go to like a deep fat fried meetup, or if I happen to be hanging out with somebody else that smokes, you know. It just doesn't happen nearly as often as it used to. Phoebe, did you ever have a goth or punk phase? Not only did I have a goth phase and a punk phase, I had a goth punk phase. Some would argue I'm still in my goth punk phase. It occurred to me that if you're saying that, that means it must be a long time since I've gotten the vest down and worn it. So, you know, that's rocks. I know, right? Isn't it cool? Oh, excuse me. It's too hot to keep it on tonight, but yeah. Oh. I know you gave me that vibe, though. Oh, yeah, for sure. The vibe was correct. Man, it's so hot tonight. So goddamn hot. What the fuck, bro? How hot is it anyway? Holy shit. Sorry, I just got so distracted. What's going on now? Okay. Gotta unplug the mic and plug in the charger. Record-breaking highest temp ever in my city today, 109 degrees. Well, right now it is 80 fucking degrees. Oh no, sorry, 79 degrees. 96% humidity down here. It's only gonna get down to 77, but by noon it's already gonna be back up to 92. It's gonna crest around 98 between 3:30 or 3 and 3:30, and then go down to 95 by 4. Tomorrow night by 12 a.m. it'll be down to 77, which is not much better than it is right now. But it looks like it's supposed to start cooling down. So let's say like tomorrow it's supposed to be 96, the day after 98. But it's supposed to be as low as 85 in the like high of 85 on Saturday, and a low of 69, which is gonna feel fucking exquisite. Just absolutely exquisite. But yeah, I mean, like, there's no shit to help it. It's gonna be like this until like September, basically. By the time September rolls around, temperatures will start like genuinely cooling off and stuff. But until then, there will be like occasional localized cooling from rainstorms and cloudy days. But I'd consider that temp and humidity combo uninhabitable for Riley, and keep in mind it's 2 in the morning too. I live in South Florida, so I'm really used to hot and moist. I grew up here in Mississippi, but I'm still, dude, I'm not used to it. Like, I can't get used to it. I hated it when I was a kid. I still hate it as an adult. It gives me headaches. It makes me mad. Like, literally, like, it gets so hot down here, it literally, like, affects my emotions. And, like, dude, I hate it. The weather, I mean. I don't hate living down. It's complicated, right? I want to eventually be able to buy land somewhere in northern New Mexico. I want to do this. I don't know if I will be able to do this, but I want to do it. But for now, I live fucking in the swamp. And as long as I live in the swamp, I kind of have to deal with it and try and make the best of it and shit. Makes me mad too every time I visit somewhere that's not a dry place. I mean, I don't mind wet. I mind hot and humid. But you can have wet, but not have it be hot and humid. Like, the northeast of this country is covered in that kind of thing. Like, there are all kinds of places all over the northeast where, because of a combination of elevation and, you know, position on the globe, basically, temperatures don't crest that high. 85 would be considered a very, very, very hot day, and the humidity never really crests that high, and it usually sits quite a bit lower in temperature and stuff, even on humid days. If it's going to be humid, it's not going to be hot, and even on days that are kind of hot and kind of humid, it's nowhere near what it is down here, because the baseline temperatures are so much lower. So a day like that feels a lot hotter than normal. But even then, even on days where it's like 82 up there and 73% humidity, like you get into the shadow of one of the mountains or you get inside where you got a little AC or one of the businesses that's got AC or something, and you're fine. Hell, half the time you sit under the shade and you're fine. The sun's just not beating down on it the same way. It makes me unable to focus in bad mood. Yeah, no, me too. I don't mind cool, humid days. It's actually pretty nice. Yeah, same. I like a good, cool, humid day. I just don't think I'll be able to do the rest of my life in this fucking hot, humid shit. It's just, fuck, man. I get it. There's some people who can. There's some people that do it just fine. But I just feel like I'm not one of those people, bro. Holy smokes, that train is scary, I know, right? My body physically can't cool down in LA and Florida. I'm drenched 24/7. Yeah, I bet I would be the same way. I can't do it, dude. Like, I can, obviously, because I do. But, like, right now, I'm sitting here, and I'm not drenched by any means, but that's probably just because I took a shower right before I came out here. Like, to my credit, I'm dry. Yeah, I'm dry, but thank you, train. Anyway, I'm dry, but it's at that temperature where, like, if I just, like, literally got up and walked outside and ran to the end of my driveway and back, by the time I got back in here and sat down, I would be drenched head to toe in sweat. Drenched. I don't like being sticky all day. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I can't fucking handle it. I mean, I obviously, to some degree I can, because here I do it, but it gets harder and harder to handle every year. Every year as summer comes along, I just wish more and more for autumn. And that's why I'm getting more and more convinced that what I need to do is really just find me a place that I can buy land where I will be happy. And where the climate will be suitable. Because, see, I can deal with fucking snow on the ground 4 months out of the year or whatever. I can deal with that. Even if it will be 4 or 5 months out of the year. I can deal with that. Okay, all right. Sorry, I'm just sitting here thinking. One of the biggest things about doing this, you know, the whole idea of moving eventually is like, you know, I've got a kid down here, but we already live like an hour apart, me and my ex. And so we already have to do a trade-in, trade-off kind of thing. And eventually, he's going to have to go to school somewhere. Which means he'll have to be in one part for part of the year anyway. I don't know, man. Oh, my spirit calls for the mountains. Greatly does my skin miss the gentle caress of mountain air. Places like Chicago get the worst of both worlds, hot and humid summers and negative-degree icy winters. Yeah, I don't know how Chicagoans do it. It takes a special breed for sure. Definitely. Although I bet Chicago does trend cooler than a lot of other Midwestern cities. I bet. Like, yes, they get hot and humid summers, but I bet you it doesn't stay as hot and as humid as long for as many days as it does in, say, St. Louis or Louisville or I don't know, Cincinnati. You get the best of both worlds. Hot and humid summers, icy cold winters. You get the best of both worlds. Yeah. You get the best of both worlds. I never hear anyone talk about this, but when I'm sleeping in a humid area indoors, I don't like how the sheets feel ever so slightly damp. It increases. Oh yeah, dude, nobody ever talks about that, but it is. Oh man, if I ever did like a stand-up comedy routine, that would have to be one of those weird little things nobody ever talks about that I had to bring up. Yeah, like I have noticed how if you're sleeping in a humid, hot climate indoors, and you don't have the AC set low enough. Or, if you do, but you've let the door open too many times for too long, those sheets are going to start to get little tiny drops of condensation that pop into the sheet and slowly but surely makes it a wet, sticky mess. And you don't feel that it's a wet, sticky mess when you get into bed at first. But then you get in there and you sit for a while. Well, you lay for a while. And the more you lay, the stickier it gets, the more humid your body feels, until eventually you realize, why does it feel like I'm sleeping in a fucking sauna? Hell, at that point, sometimes I just get up and sleep my fat ass on the floor. For real, if it gets too hot and humid in an area where you're trying to sleep, the floor is your friend. That's why For living the way Americans do, air conditioning is not just a preference, but an actual biological requirement if you want to live the way modern Americans do in the Deep South. You literally cannot do it without air conditioning. It's impossible. Like, literally, the humidity down here and the heat down here, if you don't have air conditioning, like, you would have to you would have to massively over-engineer your home to be able to keep it cool enough without air conditioning, to where your electronics wouldn't go bad way faster, and where you wouldn't constantly feel uncomfortable in there. And even then, there's areas of the Deep South where there is no amount of over-engineering in which you can live a modern life without air conditioning. You just can't do it. Your electronics will fry. Your shit will clog with dust, you know? Your fans and stuff will clog up way faster. It's horrible. And that's why the people that did live here before air conditioning, and the way people lived before air conditioning, was a lot different, tons different. Like, the way a lot of plantation houses, for example, were designed were such that they were kind of uninhabitable for parts of the summer months. And hence they would have these big wraparound covered porches. So that way, no matter what part of the sky the sun was in, there was always some part close to the house where you were still close to all the servants and all that, but where you were shaded from the sun by the bulk of the house. And that's where tons of stuff would happen, and then people would just go inside to sleep. And a lot of times people would sleep in the summer months, not in their typical bedrooms, but on the bottom floor, where they were like guest bedrooms or set-aside bedrooms specifically meant. And sometimes in a lot of southern houses that weren't as auspicious as plantation houses, there's a thing called a sleeping porch, which was a screened-in, usually concrete floored patio kind of thing that was basically like a screened-in porch with open airflow and everything, floors that are usually either at direct ground level or a little below. And in the summer months, you know, sometimes the whole family would go out there and sleep, because it would just be too hot in the house, just way too fucking hot to even be able to sleep. But honestly, on a night like this, if you had a sleeping porch, the screen and stuff catches most of the what you would call air condensed. I don't know what you would actually call it, but basically the little water droplets that are already in the air, they've already basically condensed. They're just too tiny to, like, the screen will catch a lot of that, and the screens will usually get pretty wet and stuff. But the stuff inside the sleeping porch, it's just the same reason why outside, everything you would touch, outside this little trailer I'm in, everything you would touch would be covered in dew. But in here, nothing is ever covered with dew. You know, like, it just doesn't happen because there's screens, even though the windows are open and stuff, and the screens catch most of the humidity and water droplets and anything like that, and there's a fan moving air through it. So, you know, same principle applies. And, you know, like, if I had to sleep in here tonight, I could. I would probably lay me out something on the floor, and I'd probably sleep naked, and I probably would not sleep with a blanket, but I could eventually get to sleep. I've slept in hotter environments when I was living in my minivan, for example. But yeah, it requires like a completely different way of living your life, and a completely different expectation of what your nighttime routine is going to look like and everything else if you wanted to live in an area like this without air conditioning. That's why a lot of people that want a homestead or something, they might look at the Deep South at first for its like cheap land and stuff, but if you actually want to be able to function off-grid, which I think is like a secret dream of all homesteaders. It's even one of my things. I would eventually like to be able to. I don't want to live like off-grid as a choice. I just want to be able to be equipped enough to be able to stand, you know, like if the grid goes down like it did earlier this year because of a natural disaster, I want to be so equipped that my family is okay and we're safe and we can live through that, you know? And if you really want to be secure in that way, you really don't want to be trying to fight against the heat and humidity of the Deep South. And if you do decide to do that, you kind of have to accept that you're either going to have to be very careful in where you buy land at and very particular in how you build your house, or you're gonna go somewhere else. There are two functions for chat, top chat and live chat. Top chat is my default. Vander's out spam content. My username used to be PK. Yeah, no, that would be why, PX Pepper. And by default, Prism only shows me top chat, so that would explain why you were getting filtered out. Honestly, I would assume someone with a name that long was a troll myself, so probably a good thing that you changed it if you want to participate in here. But yeah, it really is. It's like it's pretty much just a mistake of fate, I guess you could say, that so many people live in the Deep South, because it's not really an area that is conducive to human habitation. At least not in the way that modern Americans live. Like, there are communities all around the world that would do just fine in the heat and humidity of the South, but it's because they live in different ways. Like, the modern electronics and convenience obsessed American would literally, like, end themselves if they had to try living in the South for a month with no air conditioning. Maybe if my channel gets big enough, that could be a video idea. I lived in the Deep South for 2 months in the summer with no air conditioning. That'd actually be a really cool video. Because it kind of has like a clickbaity kind of sounding title and like a Mr. Beast challenge kind of vibe to it, but I would actually, of course, make it a history video. And like an environmentalism focused video. Hell yeah. Basically do like a month's worth of prep interviews. Just get a bunch of people from all over the South, or as many people as I can get a hold of, to either meet in person or to give a video account of, like, old people mainly, what it used to be like in the South before air conditioning became predominant. Get their advice, basically, for how I'm going to go about the challenge. And then I would need to find a place to do it. And that might be the hardest part, honestly. Finding somebody with a house that is of the vintage that you could even do this plan with. Because, like, there are a whole set of building protocols that go into building a house and keeping a house, as far as, like, the interior decorating and the wallpaper and all this other shit, if you're going to be in a high heat, high humidity environment. And many houses have been renovated with the expectation that the AC will be on in the summer. So, might be actually kind of difficult to find something that would match my needs. Hi, Misty. Human habitations in places like Mississippi and Arizona are testaments to man's ignorance and our hubris as well. Yes, I agree. Try living in a duplex with no AC, with no gas or water. Yeah, no, dude, that's the kind of fucking suffering we're talking about here. You've been talking for like a month and nobody has seen it. I think I might have seen a few of your chats when I had my other chat pulled up. Or when I had the chat pulled up on my other phone, I should say. But yeah, I haven't seen much of your other chats. But yeah, if I could find like an Airbnb or somebody that has a house that is that old, that is cool, that would let me live with them, or that has a house that's not lived in, that they would let me use for 2 months to do this for some kind of flat fee, that would be really fucking nice. Because this would be a really cool video to do. Just to kind of show people, what did life, number one, what did life used to look like? And how strenuous was it in the era before air conditioning? And what kind of sacrifices did it require? And number two, how much do we sacrifice presently to be able to have air conditioning? And I think a big thesis of the video would be, we traded personal lifestyle and social, I guess you could say, sacrifices that were local to us and our, us as individuals and families, for sacrifices that have to be made by other people, later generations, the people who are responsible for mining up the stuff that goes to make the technology behind air conditioning, the mitigation of heat and humidity when you're fighting against nature, as we so often build our buildings to do. Phoebe, you gotta try Yarritos guava. I'll try it sometime. I'd do it. I like Yarritos. La cucaracha, ya no puede caminar, porque no tiene, porque le falta marihuana que fumar. Aw, hey, that's cool, Impervious One. I remember you. Well, I'm glad you chose to sign up for a membership on an account where you can have recurring payments. That's actually genuinely cool. See, I told you guys that this format works, that this, that the trolls and everything help more than they hurt. That's good to know, PK Pepper. Good to know. Wow, we've been streaming for 2 hours now. I guess you really want to fucking let me see the time fly. Get me thinking about my eventual move to a place with a better climate and get me talking about a potential video idea. You know, living for a month in the heat of the summer in the deep south with no AC, just to show people like how much it took. Because I think it would probably make people appreciate their AC quite a bit more, and also maybe make some people reconsider moving to the south for the cheapness when they realize how much it takes to fight nature out here. I really think that people that live in areas like Florida, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, these places that tends to be pretty hot and pretty humid, I think that over time more and more people are gonna start building houses that are more similar to the older style of house, where you've got like this covered front porch and this covered back porch, and they're both screened in, so that you've always got a sleeping porch to use. Maybe they'll still have AC, but it's gonna get to a point where AC itself as a service, as a thing you can have, is gonna become pretty fucking expensive. It's already very expensive. It's just one of those things that's looped into such a massive expense that most people don't really think about how expensive it is. But like, if you have to get your AC replaced after you've bought your house or something, you know it's an expensive fucking proposition. The more stuff you have to get replaced on it, the more expensive it is. So it's already expensive, but eventually it's going to become like so ridiculously expensive that people are going to become a lot more cautious about how they use it, when they use it, how often, etc. And I think a lot more people are going to start wanting to spend time outdoors to just avoid being in the house where they're having to keep it more stuffy than they want to, because they're just basically running the AC enough in the hottest days of the summer to keep things like livable and dehumidify it a little bit. Because that's how AC was used in the deep south for the first, I would say like the first 40 years of its implementation. AC in the deep south was used pretty conservatively, and a lot of times people with these older style of houses would get AC added on and maybe beef up their insulation a little bit and stuff, maybe get double pane windows installed, right, so that they could have a more comfortable home, a more efficient home. But they would like keep it on one temperature, and if the day got super hot that it just kept raising the temperature in the house, well, even if it was going to make the house a little stuffy, they would keep it on, 76 or 74 or whatever it was, and it would kick on as it kicks on. And in a lot of cases, people would pretty much, do what they could to stay out of the house for the most part, unless they were sick or doing something that didn't require much movement or whatever. But the idea of having like a home gym in your house, or a bunch of like heat off putting electronics, was kind of like a foreign concept, and now people are just fucking crazy with it. Now people will, and I'm as bad as anybody, keep the AC super fucking low just to manage, because like you don't want to set it too high, because if you set it too high, then you might lose out on an opportunity to cool off the room more and force the sun and the ambient temperature to work a lot harder during the daytime to heat up the room. You really want to make sure you get it as cool as you can. And so it's like, fuck, man. I feel like the only solution really is just encouraging people to move out of the South and be more responsible with their ACs and shit, which is one of the reasons why I want to move my shit. I want to get my streaming area set up in a different outbuilding. I shouldn't say it's new, but it's different. a different outbuilding that I will be able to insulate and seal completely, and then install a mini split in, which is going to be very expensive, but it'll be worth it because it'll be very quiet. Be quieter than this box fan for sure, but it'll actually be providing air conditioning to a small space that can be easily maintained for, very low cost and power. And all of my, studio electronics and high heat electronics will be concentrated in there. And so at that point, I can afford to let my room stay a little warmer throughout the day and the night. I'm talking to myself for the last month. Oh my god, PK, that's so funny. It's not been a lot. I've seen you chatting on Impervious One a few times, I feel like. Has it really been a month? That's insane. Off work finally. What it do, Ignar? Thank you to the one who gifted me a membership. That was probably King Bugs earlier. I had so many fire comebacks for the trolls in chat. It turns out only I could see them. Aww. Well, maybe some of them could see them in all chat. You never know. Some people turn on all chat without even being told to or being informed about it. They're like, oh, yes, I want to see everything, even the trolls. I could feel you chatting in the air of the night. Oh, Lord. And I've been waiting for your message for all my life. Oh, Lord. That's my favorite Phil Robertson song. Oh my god, it's so much cooler out here. Oh, it's like legitimately cool out here. Sit here with the door open for a minute. Let some of that cooler night air in to another big opening. I wish we would get a breeze. If I ever figured out how to make mods and custom creatures and stuff in Ark Ascended, I just thought of a genius one. The helmet crab. Right? So it would be a tame, kind of like the queen bee that you pick up when you tame it, and then it gets into your inventory. And if you want to, like, use it, basically, you put it, and it basically, like, is like a skin on your existing headgear. But it provides, like, some cool stuff, you know? Like, it could, like, scare away, it could do some of the same things like the cat does. And also provide you, like, extra head protection with its hard shell and bony legs. You're artistically gifted, and the Charlie Kirk song was spectacularly accurate. Thank you. I appreciate that. I didn't play it as well tonight as I do sometimes because I was kind of nervous, but yeah, I appreciate it. I have a small one for when it's just straight up muggy as fuck in my room. Hate being in a second story apartment. Yeah, dude, I fucking cannot handle the heat at all. I literally can't fucking handle the heat. I'm a little whiny bitch when it comes to the heat. For me, anything above 80 is way too fucking hot. Just like way too hot, dude. I guess if it's like 80, but it's like 25% humidity and like 80 is the peak, then it's fine. Honestly, it's fine. But I feel like anytime 80 is the low, or even around the low, you're dealing with just miserable temperatures. I think that's why so many people are starting to get apocalyptic, is because they live in hot, humid climates like this one, and it's becoming kind of hard to, it's becoming kind of hard to live in this environment and look around and not see the effects of climate change every day in your life. That was to my first comment asking if you had a fan for my your room. I need to for my room to keep it. Well, I've got an air conditioner in my room, like in my actual bedroom, so my bedroom stays cool. I do have a ceiling fan that runs and keeps the air moving in the rest of the room where the AC outlet isn't at. But out here in the office trailer, I have a big old box fan that runs whenever I'm out here to keep the air moving. The idea is I've got a window open on either end of the building, and this is supposed to provide a little air movement to kind of cycle in night air and cycle out hot air. I don't really know how well it works, but better than nothing. I'll tell you this much, I cleaned it for the first time in probably its lifetime. It's a very, very old fan. I think it was in my grandma's house before I'd ever came over here. But I cleaned it for the first time in its lifetime the other day, inside and out. Took it apart and everything. And really just scrubbed and cleaned the fuck out of it. And I will say now it runs like a champ. It's a lot quieter and moves a lot, like a ton more air. Literally a ton more air. So it is nice to sit in front of it. It's, a much higher degree of cooling than I would have otherwise, but it's still miserable out here. It's one of the reasons why I'm kind of looking forward to hearing, a few minutes when I end the stream and go inside. I might even end up doing some ARC streaming, I don't know, but I'm eventually going to have to just cut it off and take a few more hits, or take a few more hits and cut it off, either way, and be like, yep, that's it for the night, because, fucking, it's just too hot out here. It's literally so hot, and that's another reasons why, another one of the reasons why I want so badly to get the next little area that I'm going to be using as a studio set up, because I feel like it would not be that expensive for me to get it, baseline set up how it needs to be. Get some more stuff wired and get it insulated, and get it at least set up good enough to I don't know. Get it at least set up enough to put a window unit in there, I guess. Because even if I could get it that done, even if I could get that much, right? Now I'm sitting here fantasizing, because dude, it would not take me much at all to get that situated enough to where I could start using it for that purpose. Oh my god. It'd be such an improvement. Oh my god. Because literally I have this other outbuilding that is like a lot easier for me to turn into what I need it to be, and that I know I can turn into what I need it to be. You know, like I can't put an AC out here, but I can put an AC in the one out there. My summer room fan is loud as fuck. I have to wear earplugs. Oh my god. I couldn't do it. I couldn't fucking do it. Hopefully by the end of this year, I will have this spot moved into a new area where I will be able to have all my streaming equipment and be able to smoke, and where it'll be able to be air conditioned. Oh. Alrighty, well, I'm going to go ahead and end it, guys, because I'm getting way too hot. So, peace out. Hope y'all have a good night. Thank y'all for watching.